I keep looking in the viewfinder, not because I want to look at myself, but because you are just so beautiful.
Hello, people of Earth.
Okay, today we're talking about dating a trans guy. I'm a trans guy and we're dating.
Yep.
So, one thing that's different in a relationship that has a trans person in it versus a relationship with two cis people is...
Let's talk about sex, baby. Having sex with a trans guy
It's amazing and it's great and it's the best.
Yeah.
Being a trans guy, sex is not the same experience, I think, that cis people have. Having sex is different because you're really dysphoric about your body, and I think having communication with your partner about that off the bat is really important so you don't get in a situation where you're like, they're doing something, and you're like, wow, I'm gonna have a panic attack.
And I think that having good communication with your partner is paramount to making your sex life good and safe for everyone and
But that's always
comfortable. True. Yeah, but I think that it's especially true if someone is trans and isn't as comfortable with their body right off the bat, and I think that it's really important to take things slow, and if your partner has needs that they need to be fulfilled in order for them to feel comfortable, that's obviously going to come first. And I think that it's really important to just listen to each other and just be calm about it, because I mean, it's not that different than having sex with a cis person. It's not as different as people think it is, and I think that the dynamic is so similar that it makes everything else super similar too.
Yeah. I've even gotten YouTube comments where people say, how do you have sex? Or even people,
Your friends and stuff.
Yeah, my friends, or even people at church, older ladies at church will ask me.
That's so weird.
It's so inappropriate.
How do you have sex, Linda?
And I said this in my Shit Trans Guy Say video. I was like, it's pretty similar how you have sex. It's just better. But honestly, it's not a different act. And it's not this super weird thing. And cis people have super normal sex, and people that couples with a trans person in them have super weird sex.
So I never had really been friends with a trans person before. I known about trans people and trans issues and always thought that the process was really beautiful, but had never really had the chance to be friends or be intimate with someone who is trans. And so I had a lot of questions and I was really scared to ask them. And then just asking them, I know that was really important to our relationship, because if I wouldn't have asked those things, I wouldn't have had the answers to make Xander feel as comfortable as he is in our relationship, I think. And I think just being honest with each other about everything is really important.
For me, every time you asked me a question, especially early on in our relationship, it made me feel like you wanted to know to make me feel comfortable, which just made me feel more safe. And always, I rather people ask me a question. If you're wondering, Linda, how I have sex, you can ask, I'd rather that than assume. There are a lot of things that you can Google that you don't have to ask a trans person.
True. Very true.
But
I did a lot of that.
If it's to the individual, if it's a question of how do you feel about this, or are you into this or that, or what are your plans for medically transitioning, or anything like that, I think it's always better to bring that up with your partner than just sort of sit on those questions and
wonder about it and freak out about it
for your entire relationship.
Yeah. So I'm really glad that we started off our relationship just being really honest about everything, really, and then I think that it just has led to a healthy, lasting relationship.
From their body, or disconnect from the experience that they're having. So you can have body dysphoria in that I feel like parts of my body don't belong to me, or I'm in a body that isn't mine. I've felt that before. Or you can have social dysphoria if someone calls you the wrong name or pronoun and you sort of cringe about it. That's my understanding and experience with dysphoria.
And so as a cis person dating a trans person, and I really had no idea, and I still kind of don't understand dysphoria, and I don't think I ever will. I'm never going to be able to understand that fully. And I honor that. And I know that that's your experience that I'm helping you with. I still don't understand it that well, but I know that when Xander is dysphoric, especially on a day, then that's definitely a day that's harder for him. And that's a day that I need to be more on my game and be like a little better of a girlfriend, because he can't always give like the 50% that he normally does, because dysphoria is really crippling and it's a really hard thing to deal with. And I think as a cis person dating a trans person, just being compassionate and being patient, and I definitely noticed that the more that Xander's transitioned, the less his dysphoria is there. Like the more confident that he feels in himself, and on like a particular day, if his outfit is popping and his hair is popping and he looks good and his jawline looks good, like he's gonna have a good day. And I think that matters so much more to a person that's had to fight to express themselves than it does for someone who didn't. And I'm privileged because I was born into a body that I can claim as my own, and that I didn't really have to work that hard to get there.
I have a pretty good understanding of what I'm most dysphoric about and sort of what triggers my dysphoria. And when I'm having a really dysphoric day, I'm pretty aware of that, and I can tell Shannon that. And she knows, I've talked to her about sort of what makes me feel better and what makes me feel more masculine, which sort of alleviates my dysphoria. Like if we're Snapchatting or something and she's like, oh, you look handsome, it's like a little bit of my dysphoria gets taken away. And it's not, she can say anything that's going to completely cure it or completely take it away.
And I would never try to.
Yeah, and she understands that. But she knows those little things that help me. And it's because of her doing something, and then later, after I've composed myself and I'm no longer freaking out over dysphoria, that I tell her, like, hey, you did this thing that really helped my dysphoria. And then she, like, takes a little note in her girlfriend book, you know? And we do that for each other. I think what's harder is asking for what you need, like asking for the reassurance of, hey, I really feel dysphoric today, and I just don't feel like enough of a man, and I'm scared to admit that to the world, and I need you to just be there and love me and talk me through it. Identity.
So I've always been straight, and like only romantically involved with men, and before Xander, cis men. When Xander and I started like liking each other, it was exactly the same as any of my other relationships had been before that.
But better.
I've never seen Xander as anything less than a man or less than like exactly who he is. And so to me, I'm 100% straight, still dating a trans person, because I am a woman dating a man and he is a man dating a woman, and so he considers himself straight and I do as well.
Yeah.
So even if like he is trans, I don't think that matters, because I so much more see our relationship as a heteronormative relationship than anything else.
Shannon telling someone I'm trans, to me, holds the same weight as Shannon telling someone I'm Christian. She's not going to tell someone that I'm trans that she thinks is going to put me in an unsafe situation or put her in an unsafe situation, so I trust her there.
I think that just because, like, I'm open with a lot of my friends about this kind of stuff, they pretty much all knew and, like, follow Xander on Instagram, so, like, see that, and then...
Yeah.
But, I mean, people that, like, don't follow me on social media and stuff, most of the time it's, like, not even a question, and it doesn't even matter. Like, if they meet him, most of the time they won't even know he's trans. Passive so much, like, that's awesome. Even if it does come up in conversation and I'm like, oh, yeah, Xander's trans, like, sometimes people are surprised because they look at him and don't see that, or they're just surprised that like that is who I'm dating. I don't know.
Do you get like really weird questions? Like, have you ever like told someone I'm trans and then they're like, how does that work?
Either they are like, okay, that's chill, or they're like, oh my god, tell me everything, that's amazing. Like my one good friend that I met at college, she asked a lot of questions and I thought that was really cool, and like Xander said, I think it's awesome that people ask me questions. People are genuinely curious and don't want to be ignorant, and it's great that they feel safe enough to ask them and have good answers from us. First time that Xander came to stay with us, it was super exciting, and yeah, this is happening, I like this guy, and he's trans, and my mom already knew him, and
she already knew I was trans.
Oh, yeah.
Before, like, I was planning to visit, she already knew.
Yeah, and my dad did too, and last March we went camping, and my dad just, like, has a zero understanding of what it means to be trans, and he has
all more of an understanding now.
Oh, for sure. I was super for it. He just kind of thought that Xander was gonna get me pregnant, and I was like, don't have to worry about that, which I think is really funny, and I think that he still kind of believes that.
Every time I do a testosterone shot, there's a higher chance of me impregnating you.
oh yeah, you should tell him that, and he'll probably believe it.
It's so much more talked about, and so many people know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I came out in 2010, so yeah.
What?
So there were no trans people in the media, and it was not talked about. And so my family had so many questions that they couldn't Google because there weren't any resources.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now, correct me if I'm wrong, part of the reason that her family is so accepting and so, like, all for our relationship and, like, my identity and me being proud of that is because it's more, like, it's bigger in the media.
Mm-hmm.
And also just because her family's kind of, like, just super kind and super welcoming and warm to anybody from any background and any identity.
When dating a trans person and bringing them into your family, if that's something that you choose to do, understood, especially if they're beginning in their transition, and make sure that no one calls them by their birth name, just making sure that everyone knows that their identity is valid, that it's their responsibility to make this person that's coming into their home feel that. That's really important to me. My extended family hasn't met Xander just because they, like, live other places, and they're very conservative, and so when we get to that place, that's gonna be kind of a challenge to tackle.
We'll make a video when we get...
We'll make a video, don't worry. All of my other family friends and really close people in my life that have met Xander have just, from my view, have accepted him with open arms and loved him and exactly for who he is, and if anything are, like, so supportive of our relationship, and I think that that's really cool. I feel like a responsibility to make sure that you are safe in any situation that I take us into, and I think that that especially matters when taking someone into your family.
I think also you can have conversations with your family before you bring your trans partner into a space with them about those weird questions. And you can say, like, okay, so I have this trans partner, got any questions? That way the trans person that comes into the space doesn't feel attacked by, you know, all of these questions and all of these misconceptions. I started my transition, or I came out 8 years ago, and so I've heard every question under the sun, and anything you call me, anything you ask me, I'm probably just gonna brush off, and I'll answer any question, truly, that anyone gives me. I think some trans people won't, and I think some trans people are either too dysphoric or too insecure as a partner of a trans person to have those conversations and sort of ready your family or your friends when you're bringing your partner into that space. I think could be helpful for a lot of people. Did you have any misconceptions about trans people before we started dating?
I did do a lot of research. I think, like, literally, like, when I realized that I liked you, I was like, oh, what does this mean? And then I went into, like, a Google spiral, and, like, I was probably on my computer for, like, 3 hours straight, like, oh my gosh. I mean, I was, like, confused about what that meant for me, and I was confused about what that would mean for my future, and I was scared, and I was, like, worried that I was going to receive a lot of prejudice, but I really haven't. The only questions that I've received that are at all, like, weird are just out of ignorance, and I have the ability and the tools to navigate that and to either correct that ignorance or just completely ignore it, which is sometimes a really good thing to do.
Sometimes you gotta do that, yeah.
For anyone that's, like, wondering if it's right or wrong to date a trans person, I say go for it. I mean, if you like someone, if you think that they're great, then, and if you want to spend all your time with them, then do it. And I don't think that it matters what their genitals look like or who they are, how they express themselves. I think that if you find yourself in love with someone, then you should pursue that, no matter what their identity is or yours.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, make sure to give it a like. If you have any comment, questions, or concerns for either or both of us, then make sure to leave them down below. And if you want to see more from me in the future, then subscribe.
Subscribe!
Stay sweet. Power up.